Today we're going to talk about how you can connect to your higher self. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is my higher self? So before we delve further into this, I would like to build a foundation on which we could build further. So I have a few statements here and we'll go through this. Number one, we are blank blank having a blank blank. If you are 98% of humanity, right? This statement, you would fill this up as we are human beings having a spiritual experience. Okay, which kind of makes sense if you look around, if you look at yourself. We are flesh and bones, right? This is a whiteboard, right, which you can touch. It's solid, right? The rock, the trees, everything, right? Outer reality does confirm to the truth that we are human beings first, and maybe having a spiritual experience. But if you dig deeper within yourself, right, if you remember, through some sort of a meditative practice, you would, like many others, come to the realization that we are, in fact, spiritual beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Okay, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Now, this kind of shifts the whole ideology, right? Because because as they say, the way, if you change the way you look at life, life changes how it reacts to you. So going from the prior statement to this is a completely different ideology. We are now, if this rings true to you, then you believe that we are spiritual beings first. Okay, we are essentially spirits. Okay, we are souls. We do not belong to the human realm here. We are human beings, that's for sure, but our souls is from a different place. Okay. Now, if you believe that to be true, you would understand that your spiritual nature is different than what you are encountering here as a human being, right? Your spiritual nature is full of joy, happiness, abundance, right? You're unlimited, right? And then you kind of transcend yourself down into the earthly realm in order to have a human experience. The second statement here is the blank is a blank to experience blank. Okay, the human body is a vehicle to experience life. Now, this is important to understand because in the spiritual realm, you know stuff. You know that you're free. You know that you're abundance. You know that you're joy, happiness. You know that, but there is no for you to experience that. Okay, so that is the primary reason why you kind of this is almost similar to what I mentioned in one of my prior videos about how to manifest using God's order of creation. How do you do that? You take a desire which is in the spiritual realm, you bring it down into the mental realm using your thoughts and your intention, and then you materialize that into the physical plane. Exactly in the same way, you lower yourself down from a higher frequency. Essentially, we are also frequencies. We are vibration. We are vibrating at a specific frequency, and we are vibrating at a very high frequency in the spiritual realm. But we transcend ourselves down into the mental and then into the human earthly experience because we want to experience life. Okay, knowing is not enough. We would like to experience life. Okay. The third statement, the blank only projects a blank of itself for this experience. So the soul only projects a part of itself for this experience. So your soul. So most people believe that they kind of have transcended, that they kind of come down into the human experience. But from all that I have experienced and understood, the soul only projects a part of itself into this earthly realm, right? Now, if I have to give you an analogy, this might not be completely correct, but if you go on a Zoom meeting, right, you're still sitting at your desk, but you're projecting a part of yourself into a Zoom meeting so that you interact with the attendees of the Zoom meeting, right? So you're not giving your whole self out there, you are projecting a part of yourself. So kind of similar, the soul, you still exist in the spiritual realm. You're still there, right? In fact, majority of yourself is still there, but you project a part of yourself into this earthly realm in order to have this human experience using the body as a vehicle. Okay? Now, you always have access to your what? You always have access to your higher self. Now, there are a few conditions that you have agreed to when you decided to, lower yourself down from the spiritual realm into the human experience here, to the earthly realm. One of them is that obviously you will obey the forces, obey the laws that govern this planet, the law of gravity and certain other laws. The other thing that you have agreed to do is that you have agreed to kind of limit your experience, okay, in a way, because as a soul in the spiritual realm, you're free. You are limitless. Okay. Now, when you bring yourself down, when you fill yourself within this human container, you're limiting yourself. You're essentially contracting yourself. Okay. You are boundless energy in your original state. Now, that boundless energy, for the sake of experiencing life from a unique perspective, contracts itself and fills itself into this physical avatar called your body. Okay, this is almost similar, like when you want to play a video game, right? You have to choose an avatar first, right? It could be black, white, brown, whatever. Okay, it could be a male or female, it doesn't matter, right? It's just an avatar, right? And an avatar has no impact on how you play your game. It's just that you need an identity in order to play that game, right? You even choose a location. Do you want to play in an ice cap region, or you want to play in a desert, whatever, right? You probably get what I'm trying to say. So that's exactly what happens when you reside in the spiritual realm and you decide that, yes, I do want to go and have an earthly experience. Because in the spiritual realm, you can only know, you cannot experience, right? So that's why you take a part of yourself, you project a part of yourself into this human vessel, into this human vehicle, right? And you constrain yourself, because when you constrain yourself, you get a unique perspective. Okay, you can perceive life from an individual perspective, and that perception is what adds to the richness of this experience. So you always have access to your higher self. Now, there's one important thing. When you constrain yourself down, you also agree to one other condition, and that condition is that you would forget that you are a spiritual, boundless, limitless being. Because if you still remember, it's like a king coming down and behaving like a common man. If he still knows that he's a king, well, I mean, it would change the game. But think about it, that if he forgets it, if his memory is gone, and he behaves like a common person, right? And then he has to go back on his journey to remembering that he is king and claim his rightful throne. That's exactly what is happening here. When you're born, right? It's kind of like your memory is erased. You forget everything because you have to blend into this new environment, right? And that's when your outer senses start functioning. Okay, your eyes, ears, all of your senses are outward focused, because they go and gather data and bring it back into your brain, which kind of analyzes it and creates a unique perception. Okay, so but what you do not understand, or you forgot, is that you still always have access to your higher self. Okay, now you cannot connect your higher self when you are thinking. This is very important. You cannot connect to your higher self when you are thinking. So the thinking is done with your finite mind, right? You have the part of you that is projected into the earthly experience also has a mind of its own, which it uses to survive in this physical world. That's your finite mind, an egoic mind, okay? That is the mind that takes on the avatar, right? I mentioned about the fact that you choose an avatar before you play this game, right? You choose to be a male or a female, you choose to be white or black or brown, you choose to be born in a certain country, that's all fine. So the finite mind attaches itself to this avatar to the point where it cannot live without the avatar. So the way to look at it is that you were boundless, you are boundless source energy, which constrained itself into the human body in order to have the earthly experience. And you had to take on an avatar, right? But the problem comes where your finite mind, attaches it to the avatar and considers it as itself. It equates itself to the avatar. Okay, so essentially, that's where beliefs start coming up. Okay, that hey, I'm of this, I'm white, I'm black, I'm this particular religion, right? You start compartmentalizing yourself further and further. You start contracting down. So if you fall into the games that the egoic mind, the finite mind plays, you will start contracting further and further down. Okay, but so the only way out of this, see, the finite mind is important to function in this 3D world for survival. So that's very important. Okay, but you need your higher self, your God self, to be in the driving seat. Okay, so the only way to do that is you need to develop some sort of a practice where you can shut off your outer senses, right? Which in turn will kind of shut off your thinking, right? And doing that allows your life energy, your life forces to connect directly to your God self, your higher self. Okay, and the higher self, your God self, your higher self knows the exact life plan for you. Okay, the highest version of you. Okay, and if you let your higher self be in control, okay, it will lead you directly where you have to go. Okay, the way the higher self talks to you is through suggestions, hints, gut feelings, which let you take inspired actions. Okay, so that's how you connect to your higher self. So essentially, this is the same. If you take the analogy of the king who has forgotten that he's a king and is living among the common people, if the king listens to himself, goes inside within himself and listens to the guidance of his higher self, it will chart out a path for him which will take him from where he is. Okay, it's not going to happen in an instant. It's a collaboration, okay, between yourself and the higher self. Okay, you take a step, the higher self will give you a guidance, a suggestion. Okay, if you act upon that gut feeling, you will get another suggestion. So it's a collaborative process, it's a dance. Okay, so if you collaborate with the higher mind, the king would eventually get back to his castle, okay, and earn his rightful throne. Okay, and that's exactly what we are all doing here. It's a game essentially where you have forgotten that you're spiritual beings, and the whole game is about how you remember and go back on the journey towards claiming who you are, to remembering who you are and claiming your rightly inheritance. Okay, which is understanding that you are essentially boundless, limitless, full of joy, happiness, pretty much everything, right? Now that is what you call the price. Okay, if you and me, we could live as spirits on the earthly plane, that is what you call heaven on earth. I hope this video helped you. Thank you.